Namaste to all of you. And thank you so much, Arth, a Culture Fest, which is hosted by Zee, Zee TV. Thank you so much for giving me such a great platform to share a couple of things about Indian classical dance and Mohiniyattam in particular with my audience. एंड आगे से मैं इंग्लिश में ही बात करूंगी क्योंकि हमको हिंदी ज़्यादा नहीं मालूम. आपको दिक्कत होगा और हमको भी दिक्कत होगी, तो I will continue in English, and my English is also very सरल, it's सीधा साधा, तो कोई problem नहीं होगा. Thank you. I think we have a topic called Decoding Indian Classical Dance with specific relevance to Mohiniyattam. Now, what is the meaning of decoding? Decoding generally means making something more understandable or more intelligible. And even if you look at software parlance, you have syntax, you have codes, and you have encoding. So basically what the dancer does through her performances is encode, and what the decoding really happens at your end. So today I'm not going to get into a lot of technical jargons, but because considering the fact that the audience sitting here are all also common people, I would like to speak the language of the common man. Now, there are different ways in which the dancer can make her dance communicative. And why does she need to make it communicative? The fact that dance itself has a lot of symbols. It has a lot of codes, and on various spheres. Now, there are 4 areas in which we have symbols. For example, if you look at the movement of the dance itself, the movement of the dance defines what kind of art form it is. For example, if it is in Mohiniyattam, you have semicircular, circular, swaying movements. Now, this is the grammar of the art form that sets it apart from the rest of the styles. Now, this movement, we have something called words. Now, we've defined, once the grammar is defined of an art form, then we come into the language as such. We come to the words. And usually words are represented very simply by hand gestural language. And every art form, the way the hand gestures are executed is also very dependent on the grammar. For example, if you have semicircular movements in Mohiniyattam, then we can also have the hand gestures according to that movement. For example, if I want to show a mountain, then or if I want to show everybody, or all, or plural. So that also happens in the semicircular or the swaying movement. Now, there's another technique very simply that we use, which is that of the emotion or the face. And the face, the intervention of the face in Indian classical dance, I would say, makes it extremely intelligible, because the face can't lie, right? So when compared to the other art forms of East or the West, when you talk about Indian classical dance, our face is so profound, the eyes are so profound. And it's very easy. Now, if I want to show if I want to say a boy, then this is a boy. Now, if I were to just show like this is not, this boy belongs to somebody else, or I am so detached with this boy. If I were to look at the boy with a lot of vatsalya, that vatsalya defines my emotion to the boy. The face can also be sarcastic. If I say, that means that's a naughty boy. So similarly with other things also. For example, unless you want to show for love, unless you want to show, nobody does that for love. But in case they do, it also means there's anger in love, or there's frustration in love. Or nobody can show anger as you can, unless you want to show that you're sarcastic. Oh yeah, you came, or you really called me. Stuff like that. So this is entirely the artist's discretion to use the face and to define the emotion. Another code that we have is the dress itself, the aharya. And usually for solo dance forms, we have a set kind of costume. It's already predetermined. And unless you are representing characters, if I'm Rama, I can get dressed up as Rama. or I can use some motive that denotes him. But usually for solo art forms, since the body and the mind is creating spaces, is creating characters, the relevance of a costume which defines this event is less. We have predetermined costume. Now, talking about decoding, there are two phases in which one comes with the aspect of decoding. One is during practice, one is during training. That is, when I say practice, one is during the whole process of uh, imbibing or learning this art form from a guru. And there what happens are these are common codes. So Mohiniyattam has a common code. It is the common code of Mohiniyattam is also that it has to exude grace. It has even the content. It can be anything that relates to the longing of the soul. It is bhakti oriented, the longing of the woman for her man, or vice versa. So all this is to be done in this very, very beautiful, graceful manner with this grammar that defines Mohiniyattam. Now, this is what is being given to us from our teachers, and that we learn. Now, these are parameters. And I always feel that parameters are very important, because if you're going to unlearn or extend, your parameters better be strong. The next phase that an artist uses to codify her own dance is when she starts creating on her own. Now, what she can do is, using these very parameters that she learned, she can again make her own or create new themes, or she can extend these parameters according to the way she thinks it's fit. She can determine her content, she can determine the kind of gestures she may use. Now, I'll give you a small example. Now, if this is, take the hasta that denotes, hasta means hand gestural language, that denotes a day. Now, this is the hasta that we use to represent a day, one day. Now, how did that come about? So this is the sun. This is used to denote the sun. So the sun rises in all its glory. You can't show the sun like this. It's a tired sun. So you have the sun rising, it's all in all its glory. It rises. The time taken for the sun to rise above your head, which is afternoon. This is the mudra for afternoon, and this is the setting sun. So this time that is taken for the sun to go through this routine becomes a day. So this is a day. Now, this is what is taught to us, the fact that this is a day. Now, how did this day happen is something that probably one deliberates upon and gives justification. Now, this whole thing, if I want, being a dancer, I would probably extend this hasta to something like this. It can be again. So instead of just doing this, I would probably use all my emotion, the fact that the sun also sets and then also rises again. So this, I'm just giving you an example of how one can maneuver, manipulate your language depending on what you want to do. Now, when I say decoding is also making it intelligible, it is not just about making it intelligible. It also depends on who you're making it intelligible to. What is the kind of audience sitting there? Why do you want to make it intelligible, or whether you really want to make it understandable? Now, coming to the art of temple dancers, dancers who've danced just in front of the Lord, or if you ask me, if I want to dance something just for myself, I would not bother to make it very intelligible. It could probably be, it need be intelligible only to me. But the moment you have an audience in front, and depends on what kind of audience you have, whether they are connoisseurs or whether they are common people, or probably if they are students, or if it's in an old age home, or whether it was the line of control that I performed in. It all depends on who is the end user. And what is it that you really want to communicate to your end user? Now, I don't want to go into a labor camp and dance the woman pining for her man there. It's going to go above their head. Instead, I would like to do something really concrete and something that really connects with them. Now, that is the discretion that the dancer takes. My video that my dance archival film that was voted into the contention list of the Oscars last year, Sarpatatvam. Now, what was the purpose of taking that video? The purpose of taking, for me, the purpose of taking that video was more because I wanted to disengage myself from a particular emotion, from that particular creative splurge in me at that point of time. I wanted to disengage myself from that and concretize it into a dance video. As you know, dance exists only in time, body, and space. So this whole attribute of, or the variables of time, body, and space are very important, which is why I wouldn't dance right now, because what I can see is this whole distorted form of mine on the camera. And being sensitive to an art form and being sensitive to what I do, I would probably never dare to show a performance of mine here, unless it's really, it's really appropriate. So, so Sarpatatvam came out of that necessity where I needed to separate that from this body and leave it there. And that was a work which commanded, or which demanded that kind of, I would say, that kind of a respect, because I wouldn't probably know that I would be able to do it again and again and again. And a recent video of mine, which went viral, was the one on COVID-19. Of course, the ideation came from a friend of mine called Dr. Arun Aziz, and the whole thing, the reason that I listened to my friend was because I thought at this point of time it is very important to address this to my audience. And if you look at the video, you would find that there is stylization and there is realistic acting, because lokadharmi, and you will find me wearing the mask or the gloves or doing the hand wash. I can't be too stylized about it, because the purpose of that was communicating or connecting with the common man. If I wanted to, I could have made it stylized in my own way, but I wouldn't do that, because what is my purpose? My purpose here is to connect to the people there, and it's purely instructional. I wouldn't probably wear a lot of ornaments, or I wouldn't probably look like a dancer. I really wanted to connect with the common man. But I took one of what do you say, of India's great philosophies on the Tapatraya, the composition by Muthuswami Dikshitar, which was classical enough for me to include all that I wanted into the spectrum of Indian classical dance. Now I see a question, and I can't see, actually. Let me put on my glasses. Has Mohiniyattam evolved with time? If yes, how so? Of course, it has evolved with time. And of course, the Mohiniyattam of yesteryears I've never seen. I mean, the first Mohiniyattam, my memory of Mohiniyattam starts with, great artists like Dr. Kanak Prale, Bharti Shivaji, Leelama, Kalamandalam Leelama, Kshema the teacher, all those people who try to propagate the art form globally. They made a technique. They introduced new themes and new pieces. Some people strove about making it indigenous and regional and sticking to the soil of Kerala. And now it's more about self-expression. It's more about extending the art form to a space which is beyond our own region, and to also fill in certain gaps that would be there. Again, that's the perception of the artist. So there could be gaps, and one tries to fill that. I always feel that an art form is like nurturing an art form is like nurturing a relationship, because in a relationship, you put in something that is not there, something that is already there. I don't think you need to really give much importance to it. But in a relationship, you contribute to something which is not there. You nourish it, and similarly, in Mohiniyattam, I feel that instead of just learning and doing and redoing mechanically, it comes to a point where you have to address certain social issues, or you have to at least, to begin with, you have to address your own emotion, your own self-expression, and you have to at least do that at an art form. How does Mohiniyattam speak about social topics relevant to the youth today, such as queer rights, body positivity, and so on? It's very tough. I don't think that Mohiniyattam, of course, in its own way, we have people trying to bring about, but it's very, very subtle. And I feel that even if you do, not many people really get to see it. Now, who is the audience of Mohiniyattam? Most of us, I feel that most of us Indian classical dancers are a very secluded lot. We have our own musicians, we have our own audience, we have our own sabhas. And who are the people who come to these sabhas? They are people who want to see something that they have seen before, and any deviation from it could look off track. So even if you were to do something on queer rights or body positivity to a common man, how much are they going to understand unless they are previously acquainted with this kind of body dynamic? I think it is time that we move beyond um, um, the normal set of parameters, and we have to make other people. It has to be more inclusive. That way, then you have to even work on the lyrics. You have to have good musicians, and you have to basically think out of the box. What can we do to propagate Indian classical dance forms better? I think the onus is on the organizers, not a question that should be posed to a dancer. Of course, as dancers, we do have the responsibility of bringing our art form to the fore. And I feel most of the time when you have a common statement that any audience would say is, no, I don't understand. I can't understand. Why do they feel they can't understand? So I realize the problem is not with them. The problem is with the artists. We need to really package our art form well. We need to start speaking their language. We have to step a little away from just talking about bhakti. Well, that's there. But I think we need to have more social context, like the nayikas of today are not just these lovelorn nayikas. They're not lovelorn anymore. You have divorcees, you have single mothers, you have widows. We need to bring in their issues too. And that's the only way you can actually start connecting with the audience. What has been my fondest memory associated with Mohiniyattam? I think the shooting of Sarpatatvam was the fondest memory that I have had of the art form. The fact that the art form did imbibe the philosophy of a Dalit saint called Pambati Siddhar, and the fact that I could use a lot of flow movements. I changed the style, I changed the dance, I used Tamil. I mean, I did whatever in my spite that would suit the content without making an attempt to break the style. And I was very unaware of, I didn't occur to my mind that I need to, dodge out of the normal Mohiniyattam routine, but I let the content dictate me. And the very shooting of the whole dance archival film, the process, I would say the whole process of it has been very, very memorable. And again, that it was a mix. I had mixed feelings. It was not just fondness. There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of things going on. But one fond memory was when I did Chilapatikaram in the Kodungalur temple, which is the story of Kannagi. And And the last scene is just based on the interaction between Kannagi and the king. And we had, and it was done purely with Madalam. Um, and what happened is after she sets Madurai on fire, um, uh, and then she comes back sitting as Kodungalur Devi. I remember one of the people in Kodungalur, the priest, I suppose, got um, the Devis or the goddesses munda, what we say, her drape, and draped it on me. And what he said was, we could feel a lot of heat, so we just wanted to cool you down. And because that dance also requires a lot of that kind of energy, she sets the whole city ablaze. So for me, that was very, very, that was a good memory of really internalizing the subject and communicating with my audience. Anything else? Let's see another one. Now, there's a question on Guru. So, see, one thing about your relationship with your art is the fact that when you contribute to your art, the art actually contributes back multifold, and that's on multiple layers also. So I would say the real guru is this aspirant in us, or the intellect in us, and the real disciple is again this aspirant in us, which is why I always feel it's much more powerful to teach yourself, or to learn, or to nourish the art form within a span of time, because there it's a communication between yourself as a teacher and yourself as a student. Let's see another question. How can one find the right balance between work and passion for dance? That's a question I would like to ask somebody else. I never balance. I go off balance. So I guess for me, not that I balance, but I think the best thing to go about your passion is waking up early in the morning. Early in the morning and doing your riyaz. Nothing like doing riyaz, because that really gives you the energy for the day, and you feel very content and you feel very guiltless. Oh, we finished 1 hour, 30 minutes. Okay. What sets Mohiniyattam apart from other classical dance forms like Bharatanatyam or Kathak? Okay. All right. See, for an outsider, now, if for an outsider, for a non-Indian who sees all these art forms without their costumes, maybe in the sari, they'll think that everything looks the same. They'll probably say that Mohiniyattam is slower, Mohiniyattam is more graceful, it has its own pace, and if the person were to see it more um, uh, closely, he would probably say that it has a lot of facial expressions, and it's softer, gentler. And if he sees it furthermore, he would realize that there's this, it's very contemplative, and there's this great scope for characterization. If Bharatanatyam or Kathak are on a faster pace, here the slowness of Mohiniyattam makes it potent for characterization, or entering into the mind of the character. And I also feel the instruments and the rhythms are very different. Even for Bharatanatyam and Kathak, they are different. Mohiniyattam also, we have the ability to include, uh, we have the opportunity to include the rhythms of Kerala into Mohiniyattam too. We can also have the typical the Mridangam Cholas also, but then we have this added advantage of using this beautiful percussion. Then what else? Could you please do a little demo? No, like I said, I'm very, if this place is not very congenial for a demo. If you would like to see a demo of mine, you can go to YouTube, Methil Devika, either go to Corona Video or Sarpatatvam. For me, I told you I'm very sensitive to space, and if I stand up, you would not see most of my body. If I sit and do, you would not see my hands. So I think I'm so sorry. What else? So I think our session is almost done, maybe. So I wonder if I can sign off. Okay. So this whole thing about Mohiniyattam having, somebody's asked, why does it have so much of Sringara? Now you have to define Sringara. Sringara can be the passion you have for your lover, the passion you have for your work, the passion you have for the Almighty, the passion you have for your child. And this has come out of a kind of socio-cultural context where the art form thrived at a certain age, when there was more of this Naika concept in it. And we've all had periods in history where every art form has its own phases of growth. And therefore, Mohiniyattam, even if there was resurrection that happened in Kerala Kalamandalam, we still had the Sringara aspect to it, Sringara attached to it in great proportion. But of course, now everything is very different. Even the whole perspective of Sringara is very different. One tries out other themes as well. There are so many great dancers who are doing wonderful work, which is not just oriented in Sringara. Then there was another question about the Corona video. Okay. Oh well, when Muthuswami Dikshitar, I think I got those lyrics from from Muthuswami Dikshitar's composition on Devi, on Mother Nature, and he says that there are three kinds of, like I said, the miseries were Adhyatmika, Adi Devika, and Adi Bhaudika. And Adhyatmika is one that arises out of one's own mind. Adi Bhaudika is created by other people, and Adi Devika is created by nature. So this apparently he has taken it from the Maharoga Chakra of this Kala Chakra cycle, and he had adapted it into his composition. And most of these people, you see, they know a lot. The truth is what they have always sorted. And if you look at all their compositions, most of them have so much of truth in it. And when you do something when you do a content like this based on Indian philosophy, then there is so much of depth in it. Somebody's asked me about my padam, bhuyo bhuyo. Okay, that particular padam I had done around I think 16 years ago. Yeah, and every art form, every dance of mine mostly is a kind of autobiography. And bhuyo bhuyo was choreographed by me around 16 years ago. And it's this conversation between Gopika and Krishna in twilight, after they've spent the night together. And when he says, "You please go home," and she says, "I don't want to go home. I want to spend the night with you." And then he says this. She says, "This forest is ferocious." He says, "The forest is ferocious," and she says, "Yeah, the forest is so beautiful yet, and my home is like the forest in your absence." And then he says, "You need to leave if you have to get back to me, and that's your karma." Um, okay, where am I from? Where do I look like I'm from? Okay, I'm from this little quaint village called Palakkad, Palakkad in Kerala. It's a very it's a place where there has been a lot of growth of Carnatic music. It's the great place of Kalpati, where you have the famous cart festival, the Radholsavam. And it's a heritage village, and I'm so glad that I belong to Palakkad in Kerala. But right now, I'm based out of Trivandrum. And I think a couple of questions. We are running short of time. I'm so glad that I was able to talk to all of you. I have a blessed Ramadan. Have a blessed month of generosity. Be safe, stay safe, and be happy. Thank you so much. Namaste.